The Lakers started this season off with a whimper, dropping 10 of their first 12 games behind the least efficient offense in the league. But they shifted that offense around Anthony Davis, and for a moment at least, it completely turned their season around. Davis is currently sidelined yet again after a fluky foot injury against the Nuggets, so we'll have to wait and see if he can maintain the form he's played at over the last month. But after backsliding in the last few seasons, he's been an absolute monster, in part because of how LA changed its offense. Watch AD on this early season possession against Cleveland. He sets a screen with his teammate, only to slide over and set some more screens off the ball, and after that all fizzles out, LeBron flows into some offense in one corner, while Davis just stands around on the perimeter on the other side of the court, and that's not a great trip. The idea here is to create a little movement and some space on the floor by pulling Davis's man out of the lane so it's easier to penetrate and finish. But the Lakers are the worst three-point shooting team in the league, so defenses can sag off their 5-out spacing, and ironically, Russell Westbrook brings his defender back to AD here, leading to a turnover. So their big change was involving Davis in the ball screen directly to maximize his pressure as a roll man. Normally, pick-and-roll heavy offenses are built around the ball handler, but the Lakers' new offense is about Davis as the screener because he's so difficult to stop in these situations. He's skilled coming downhill on the roll. He can set the screen and occasionally pop out for a mid-range jumper. But perhaps the most devastating part of his screen game is attacking a mismatch after a switch. Even bigger forwards like Jason Tatum that start on LeBron are still subject to some bully ball from AD after they switch, and the Celtics actually needed a defensive counter in that game that we broke down on the More Thinking Basketball channel. These switch mismatches are more than just posting up though. They're about Davis's incredible catch radius around the basket. One of the reasons the post-up is out of style these days is that teams are so much better at defending entry passes. The standard technique is to front the post while another teammate shades over to help if they throw it over the top. But because Davis is such a giant vertical target, his teammates can just throw it up in the air and he skies right over the smaller defenders to get it. Notice how many of these screens he sets are inside the three-point line. This isn't a screen to create an immediate shot for the ball handler. It's to get Davis inside a smaller defender near the basket to go and catch a pass. This is like an old-fashioned pick and roll, setting up around the free throw line and looking to spring the roll man. And this makes sense with non-shooters like Westbrook. He wants to drive into this space here, not shoot, and Davis's man doesn't want to leave him, so Westbrook is free to attack. Even if defenders can stay with the ball handler around the screen, leaving AD's body just opens up his roll game again. Brook Lopez takes one step toward the ball, so Westbrook just throws it up in the air, and that's another high percentage shot for LA. This is subtle, but watch Jokic here. He stays completely glued to Davis so he doesn't have extra space to catch a lob. So AD's screen game and his general lob threats around the basket create gravity where defenders don't want to leave him, so that opens up driving lanes for his teammates. Los Angeles basically built this offense around Davis's screen and roll. Before November 6th, AD set 28 on-ball screens every 100 possessions, and according to Second Spectrum, their offensive rating on those plays was 95. After November 6th, Davis set 55 ball screens per 100 with a 102 offensive rating. So they've doubled their frequency while going from below average efficiency to well above average. And that jump coincides with their overall offensive improvement around Davis. At the start of the season, LA was outscored by 5 points per 100 with AD on the floor. with an offensive efficiency in just the 12th percentile. After November 6th, they've been +5 with AD on the floor and an offense in the 81st percentile. So this shift to a Davis-centric attack built around his role game completely reinvigorated the Lakers, who suddenly won 7 of 9 games in the middle of November. Davis himself averaged a whopping 35 points and 15 rebounds on 72% true shooting in the 14 full games he played over this stretch, and that leads us to the other major component of this explosion: Davis's health. After a transcendent performance in the bubble back in 2020, he's spent the last 2 seasons in and out of the lineup constantly, missing more than half of his team's games. Going back and watching his earlier film, he looked lighter on his feet to me and just more fluid. He was already pretty filled out by 2018 at the age of 25, adding a bunch of muscle over the years as he matured into a defensive cheat code, able to move with the agility of a guard in certain spots with the wingspan of a pterodactyl. He was so quick off the floor that he could basically do the impossible: start at the free throw line when this pass is thrown and catch up to the ball at the rim. After some additional weight gain and the toll of those nagging injuries, he wasn't moving like that over the last few seasons, and that's chipped away at his value on both ends of the floor. Here's what rookie head coach Darvin Ham said recently before Davis's foot injury.
I think he's feeling great. His body is feeling great. He had a few back issues early on, but he's worked his way through them, and he's having fun playing the game of basketball pain-free.
The pain-free part really jumps out to me because there have been flashes over these last few years that look like normal Davis, but then at other times he's laboring down the court and not entirely comfortable. Compare that to how well he moved recently, looking a little lighter on his feet with smoother change of directions at speed. This is more of a vintage Davis move, spinning away from the double team and flying around for a reverse. And his extra agility helps him as a roll man because he can attack empty space and then just slither around help defenders. This one was particularly eye-opening for me because the help was there along with a big man, but AD avoided both in the air and finished anyway. And his improved health made a difference on defense, where he hasn't been quite as dominant since Disney World. AD put on a clinic back in the bubble because that agility, 7'6" wingspan, and quick leaping made him a nightmare for any offense. And he hasn't been quite at that level lately to me, but he has been destructive on that end in the last month. A play like this one really stands out, where he played the entire second half, yet still pounces on this skip pass to somehow deflect it and force a turnover. And since he's moving better, he can quickly recover and shut off plays at the rim. Jaden Ivey has nowhere to go here, and we've been seeing more brilliant plays like this one on the defensive end. Here, he's in a drop coverage to take away the lob pass, then contests Devin Booker so he can't shoot, yet steals the pass with his other hand. I am contractually obligated to mention that this two-arm sorcery is a vintage Bill Russell move. Anyway, compare those plays to last year, where Davis looked more sluggish on plays like this one, where a little body contact nullified his vertical challenge. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, and here's a similar play where Drew Holiday drops his shoulder, but Davis effortlessly strides and elevates to destroy the shot. And that is much closer to the defensive magic we've seen from him at his best. And that means when he puts it all together, there are brilliant possessions like this, covering ground to chase a three-point shooter off the line, then deterring a shot from behind, and rotating out to nearly block a jumper at the end of the clock. Everything we're discussing really shows up in his impact metrics, which painted him as a fringe all-star candidate last season, but this year he's looked like one of the very best players in the world. It is a bit of a different style than we saw a few years back, using that extra weight to bang closer to the hoop as the Lakers' full-time center. And when there's a switch or a cross match, he just parks himself near the bucket to snatch offensive rebounds for putbacks. I don't know if I would call this version peak Anthony Davis. He's been asked to pass way less and finish way more. But moving closer to the hoop has spiked his true shooting percentage, and it's not from hot shooting from the outside or the mid-range, but because he's been living around the basket and creating mismatches rolling toward the hoop. Since the Lakers lack shooting, a Davis-centric offense makes sense for them, and he harmonizes with LeBron as a slasher and passer, and Russell Westbrook off the bench in a similar role. It's not the sexiest approach, but LA built something that isn't easy to guard. And so, after a few up and down seasons, the 29-year-old Anthony Davis reinvigorated the Lakers by playing like a top 10 player once again, and hopefully he can stay there and stay healthy when he returns. You can catch that video on how the Celtics countered this on the More Thinking Basketball channel. The link is below. And to support all things Thinking Basketball, head on over to patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. That's where you can sign up. We have our monthly Q&A, we have a community, and of course our brand new thinkingbasketball.net, which has a ton of proprietary stats and data that we use to help research our videos and podcasts. Thanks so much for watching this one all the way through. Let me know what you think about Davis's latest injury and his health going forward. And of course, wherever you are watching from, I hope you are having a great day.